make it. Oh God.
Are we running? Are we good? We're filming, right? Okay. Anyways, we're going to do another quick Haspin update. On the lift, we got Chaos, the Therainbowboxer's rig. And he's also our lovely cameraman today. Working on our brakes right now here. We got these, I think they're called Earhart calipers or MB1 or something like that. But mechanical go-kart brake caliper. We've been having some issue with the brake pads wearing out too quickly. So this is actually a chunk of brake pad from a car. And I happen to have a spare set of brake pads I didn't use for something, so we're going to take this to the bandsaw, slice them out, shape them, till we end up something that looks kind of like that. And we're going to put them in there, and hopefully they'll last a little longer. Also, another thing I did is, these were both originally the same width. You see this one's a little narrow. I took about 1/8 of an inch off there because the brake disc, when it fits in there, you'd wear your brake pads down a little bit and then they just fall out because brake disc isn't very thick. So now we're working on the braking system. Here's a caliper that we were playing with earlier. Let me grab this over here. We donated a brake pad to that caliper. So I just cut that out and then went over on the bench grinder, ground it in the right shape, and away we go. So anyways, right here's our brake pedal. This is our gas pedal. So this is kind of the setup we came up with because we wanted separate brakes and clutches. So this is just the brake and the other side's just the clutch. So you just stomp down on that. It comes back here, pushes this rod, does that, and grips this nice 10-inch brake disc. Had to go around and polish the rust off of it because just like everybody else that drives our tractors regularly, we don't use the brakes a lot, and they tend to rust up because they get full of mud and water and sand and grit. And we were kind of raised on the junk tractors that never had good brakes. So even though we have good brakes now, we just don't use them unless it's an emergency. So anyways, there's the braking setup. Should be good for probably about a year.
And go.
And we had to do some more repair work. Right here, Dan's frame decided to let go because these bolts fell out, and this is just bolted in. So we put some bolts back in, welded that up. If you look underneath, we had to add an idler, and we had to widen this out. I had to add this belt guide in. His clutch was running out of travel. This pulley was touching that. So we did all that work. Should be nice and good on the clutch. Other than cleaning it up, we changed the oil on it, put some new bearings in the front end so they're nice and tight. So I'm sure there's plenty of other stuff we got to do yet, but we'll continue on. Well, we had an issue here. This is kind of version 1.0, and I'm going to upgrade to version 2.0. You can see we got a little bendy here and there, just tweaked all over. I think these are actually 1/2 inch threaded inside. But what I did on the other tractors that came after this one is I take a piece of 1/2 inch black pipe, I'll slice this off and weld the nut to both ends at the length I need, and that'll be our new tie rod end. And it's much heavier duty than stock, and it'll be heavier duty than that also. So we'll fix that up also. Well, I can weld, but I'm not a welder, so we're going to try this. This is the first time I've actually tried to film welding. So you can see this is the 1/2 inch thread, fine thread nut that the tie rods fit into. And there's our pipe cut the length. So I'm just going to try to weld the nut on there. Hopefully without any spores, of course, safety-wise, shouldn't have any flammables nearby, but yeah, I'm not safety-wise. It's a little crooked, but you know what? It's tractor work. see what it looks like. Not my prettiest weld, but it's definitely melted in there. So now I just got to do that to the other side. Typically when you weld a nut like that, the threads inside get distorted a little bit, so I'll run this out and I'll run a tap through it. And then whenever we put our tie rod in, I'll have a lock nut on it. So, but we should have a nice, sturdy, easy, cheap tie rod when we're done. Well, I don't know if this welds any better, but probably not. But I do have this. So here we are. So throw a 1/2-inch tap in your drill. It does a wonderful job of cleaning your threads up. So now we got a tie rod all done. I can just throw some tie rod ends in it and put it back on the tractor. Be good for another many years. Well, there it is, all installed. These are 1/2-inch 20 Hemi ends or Hemi ends. I don't know how you pronounce it. So H-E-M-I, something like that. Anyways, but these are much sturdier than your typical motor tie rod ends. And even though I have 1/2-inch 20 with lock nuts, and actually you put a little lock washer underneath the joint so you get full articulation on it. Even though I have all that, I have come back and checked these and they have loosened up. So one time it almost involved me having a very bad wreck on a motocross course because my tie rod end fell off right after a big jump. And fortunately I was not hurt and it didn't even crash, matter of fact. But it's pretty important to keep an eye on these joints. And pretty much any mower that goes faster than say, I'd say 15 miles per hour, you're going to want to upgrade tie rod ends to something more sturdy. If you look at the axle on this, I'm probably covered this in previous videos quite a while ago, but this is a completely custom front axle, completely custom geometry on it. So you see, I used some rather massive pieces of metal to build it. So this thing could take a heck of a beating. I mean, we've jumped the snot out of it, and this front axle just doesn't care. So anyways, that's probably, I don't know if that's as much as I'll get done tonight, but I'm going to continue to poke at it and see what else I can find. Now here's something a lot of people find amazing on these. That is a factory steering box for this Craftsman mower, but it's been modified. Let's see, right there where my finger's touching, we welded in a 1-inch by 3/4 bushing, put a grease zerk in it. There's a lock collar. What you can do is you can loosen up that lock collar, wedge it over, and you can adjust the gap between the teeth to keep the steering nice and tight. It's also got a little bit of welding and bracing going on in it, but we've been running it for I think 4 years now, and it still works pretty nice. So look at that, it's even got the Craftsman steering wheel. There you go.
Well, replace the, or check the air filter here, it's fine. And just replace the headlights on it. I think old Chaos is done. We're going to get a LED bar for the front of this one and weld a protective brace across it. But all in all, I think Chaos is ready to romp.
Let's take it for a test drive. I'll see if it starts up.